Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome. I hope you can all hear me. Please, are you with me? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me very well. Okay, so you are welcome. So I think if you could remember, ladies and gentlemen, I told you for today's lecture, we are going to focus more on chemistry of carbohydrates. So I think if you could remember, I have sent you videos on the chemistry of carbohydrates, and that is exactly where we are actually going to start our discussion. So let me start asking you a question. What is carbohydrates? What is carbohydrate? What is carbohydrates? 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 I hope my voice, you can hear my voice very clear. Can you all hear my voice very clear? Okay. There are organic molecules made up of hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, correct? Okay, any other definition? Someone said carbohydrates are organic molecules that made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So please, any other definition? Someone mentioned that carbohydrates is organic molecules that made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So any other definition? A group of organic compound composed of carbon, hydrogen. You are given almost the same definition. Carbohydrate are organic compound that made up of carbon, hydrogen. No, they are organic molecules. So you are actually given almost the same definition. You are giving us almost the same definition. Okay, carbohydrate is a fully hydroxyaldehyde or ketones or any compound that produce them or that produce such on hydrolysis or by hydrolysis. Excellent, excellent. This is the best definition of defining or the best way of defining carbohydrate. So carbohydrate is a fully hydroxyaldehyde. Carbohydrate is a fully is a fully polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketones or any compounds that produce such on hydrolysis. So this is the correct definition of carbohydrate, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are to define carbohydrate, you shouldn't forget about this: polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones, or any compound that produces such on hydrolysis. So the key word in defining carbohydrate, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you are going to define carbohydrate, you shouldn't forget the polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones. So these are the key words, and you are asked to define carbohydrate. The best way to define carbohydrate is defined as polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketones or any compound that produce such an hydrolysis. That is the best way of carbohydrate. And you can also further describe carbohydrate as a compound, or apart from defining it as a compound that is made out of polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketones, then you come further to explain that the carbohydrate is made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So sometime, I think in this video, I will also try as much as possible to help you on how to answer some question in biochemistry. Assuming now you are asked to define carbohydrates in biochemistry, what are you supposed to do? The first thing, you define this: that carbohydrate is a polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones or any compound that produce such on hydrolysis. So you've started with this, and you can further describe that the carbohydrate is made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Furthermore, you can also describe carbohydrate as an energy giving food. You can describe carbohydrate as an energy giving food. So you see, if you ask to define carbohydrate, the first thing to do: carbohydrate is a polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketones or any compound that produce such on hydrolysis. And then you can further describe that carbohydrate is made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So you have 2 points here. You can also, apart from this, you can also say carbohydrate is an energy giving food. Do you understand? So now, what are the functional groups that are found in carbohydrates? What are the functional group in CHO? The word CHO here, it means carbohydrate. So ladies and gentlemen, what are the functional groups of carbohydrates? What are the functional groups that are found in carbohydrates? Who can help? Excellent, excellent, Idara Friday. You are always on point. Ketone and aldehyde. Ketone and aldehyde are the main functional group that are found in carbohydrate. But now, what is functional group? What is functional group? We need to define functional group. So a functional group can be an atom or group of an atom or group of an atoms, or a bond. It can be a bond. It can be an atom or group of atoms or a bond that determine the chemical properties of a compound. So whenever we set functional group, it can be an atom or a group of atoms that determine the chemical properties. Look at it. The chemical properties of a compound. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Please, you should tell them in the group we have already started the class, because I realize that you are very few in the lecture. So now, in chemistry, we know that from basic chemistry, we have like neutralization reaction, esterification reaction. We have so many types of reaction. So that in the case of organic compound, the types of the reaction an atom or a group of atom undergo depend on its functional group. So the functional group is what actually determine the chemical properties of a compound. So therefore, now in carbohydrates, what will determine the chemical properties of carbohydrates? It is their functional group. And this functional group of carbohydrate, we have two of them as you mentioned, and I'm very happy that because you watched the video, we have two functional groups of carbohydrate. We have ketones and aldehydes. Ketones, we have ketones and aldehydes. Aldehydes. The other way, you can ketones can also be called alkanone. Ketone can also be called alkanone. So you can call ketone alkanone. And then the aldehyde, it is also called alkanal. So these are basically the two functional groups of carbohydrates, which can be alkanal or alkanone. And what is the functional group of alkanal or alkanone? The functional group of alkanal or alkanol is the functional group of alkanal or alkanone is, this is it, is R C O R. So you can see R1 here and you can see R prime. And another one for the alkanal, the functional group of alkanal is RCHO. So these are the two functional groups of carbohydrate. We have RCOR and we have RCH. This R here, the R here, it means the R here, it's called alkyl group. The R here, it means what? Alkyl group. We call it alkyl group. And this alkyl group, the alkyl group R here, it has a formula, and the formula for alkyl group is CnH2n plus 1. So this is the formula for alkyl group. So now the question is, why do we have here, we have R prime, and here we have R double prime? The reason is, the R here might be different from the R here, but they are all alkyl group. So the number of carbon that can be found here and the number of carbon here might not be the same. So this is what we call, these are the basically two major functional group of carbohydrates. It has ketones and aldehyde functional group. And then in addition, these are how to describe, these are the functional group for the alkanone is R prime CO R double prime, and then we have RCH. So these ketones and aldehyde groups in organic chemistry, they have a general name. We call them carbonyl compound. We call them carbonyl compound. They are under carbonyl compound. What is carbonyl compound? A carbonyl compound are compounds that have carbon to oxygen double bond. So whenever you have a compound like this that have carbon to oxygen double bond, this is what we call a carbonyl compound. So let me just give example. Here is in the case of this. Who can tell me what is this? Which functional group is this, please? Which functional group is this? Which functional group is this? Which functional group is this? And then this one. No. The answer is is this one. This one is ketone, and this one is aldehyde. So what actually helps in describing this? The best way to identify the aldehyde functional group is when you this carbon that you see here, the carbon here bearing the oxygen double bond, it is called carbonyl carbon. So the carbon bearing the oxygen double bond is called carbonyl. We call it carbonyl carbon. So the carbon bearing the oxygen double bond is called carbonyl carbon. So this is called carbonyl carbon. So whenever you have a carbonyl carbon bearing free hydrogen, so that compound or that aldehyde group, that functional group is described as alkanal or aldehyde. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, these are the main types of, or these are the main functional groups that are found in carbohydrates. So if there is anything that you are going to forget in the context of carbohydrate, you shouldn't forget about the definition. The best way to define carbohydrate, it is defined as polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketones, or any compound that produce such on hydrolysis. And we have the functional group of carbohydrate. What are those functional group of carbohydrates? We have aldehyde and ketones. And what determine the chemical and the physical properties of carbohydrates? It is this functional group, which is the aldehydes and the ketones. That is that. Then the next one after the functional group is we are now going to look at the importance of carbohydrates. What are the importance of carbohydrates? So who Okay, so you are welcome back. So now someone said the first importance of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the major energy source in the body of living organisms. So generally, ladies and gentlemen, uh, the major or the primary source of energy in the body of living organisms is carbohydrates. So when we take food, remember, ladies and gentlemen, we can take foods which might be rich in so many classes of food. So we can take a food product which is highly rich in so many other food products. Like for example, let's say now you take rice and beans. The rice and beans that you took might be rich in carbohydrates. It might be rich in carbohydrates. It might be rich in proteins. It might be rich in vitamins. It might be rich in minerals. It might also be rich in lipids. But I want to say something here very important, ladies and gentlemen. The major class of food that produce energy in our body, the major classes of foods that generate energy in our body is carbohydrates produce energy in our body. Proteins also produce energy in our body. Lipids also produce energy in our body. But as you said, like you see, Adeyima Samuel, you just said that it is a primary source of energy. What does that mean? It means that even the other classes of foods, like the proteins, the lipids, and carbohydrates, are producing energy. But the primary, the first one that will be utilized to generate energy in your body is carbohydrates. So when carbohydrate is exhausted, the next one is lipids. So if you don't have carbohydrates in your body and you don't have lipids, the next one is proteins. So proteins is not just only to build our body, at the same time, it is also important in generating energy. So therefore, I want you to understand 1 gram of carbohydrates, 1 gram of carbohydrates, get it, ladies and gentlemen. 1 gram. This is part of, I think I saw this in the question paper some times ago. 1 gram of carbohydrates, CHO here means carbohydrate. So 1 gram of carbohydrates produce 4 kilocalorie. 4 kilocalorie. It produces 4 calories of energy. 4 calorie. It produces 4 calorie of energy. Calorie. And then 1 gram of lipids. 1 gram of lipids produce 9 calories. And then 1 gram of protein, and the body can produce also 4 calories, 4 kilocalorie of energy. Lipids, 1 gram of lipids produce 9 calories of ATP. And then we have 1 gram of proteins also produce 4 kilocalorie of ATP. So now the question, ladies and gentlemen, between carbohydrates and lipids and proteins, which one produce the highest amount of energy in our body? Which one produce the highest amount of energy in our body? Excellent. So lipid produce highest energy in our body, but we consider it as a storage form of energy. It is a storage form of energy. So when we take food, ladies and gentlemen, generally, let me tell you one thing very important. That is why sometimes we have to be very careful in the kind of food or the types of food that we are going to be taking. One, if we eat frequently, if we are eating food frequently, what will happen? The lipid in our body is usually, who can tell me where do we store lipid in our body? Where do we store lipid in our body? Now, assuming now we take food that is rich in carbohydrate, proteins, and lipids, and you have enough carbohydrate that provide energy in your body. So what happened to the lipid? The lipid will be stored. So where do we store lipid in our body? Okay, the answer is no. Excellent. Kenny Aremu, the answer is adipose tissue. We store lipids in adipose tissue. We store lipid in adipose tissue. So it's not only adipose tissue. Which other organs also do we store lipids? Which other organs also do we store lipids, ladies and gentlemen? What other organs do we store lipids? Apart from adipose tissue, who can tell me what other organs do we store lipids? What other organs do we store lipids? No, it's not liver and it's not muscles. we store lipid also. We store lipid in ovary or ovary. We also store lipid in testes. These are the different parts of our body where lipid are stored. So we have 3 organs where we store lipids. We store lipid in adipose tissue, we store lipid in ovary, and we store lipid in testes. So what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you take food that is highly rich in all these classes of food, so if you take enough carbohydrate that will produce energy in your body, the lipid in most cases will be the lipids in most cases will be remain stored in the adipose tissue. It means that the lipid will keep accumulating. The lipid in your body will keep accumulating because you are taking carbohydrate, and the carbohydrate is well enough to generate energy for you. So therefore, there is no need to utilize proteins and lipid, and that is why you become bigger. This is one of the bases of why, as we are eating a lot of food, then there is a high chances we are going to become fatty, because the lipid will be accumulating in the adipose tissue, and that is why we develop a fatty body. Yes, when we said fats, the word fats, lipid is made up of fat and oil. When we say lipid, it means fat and oil. So the oil and the the oil and the fat are all the same. So when you said lipid, it means the oil and the fat. So that is what I want you to understand. Fat and oils is the lipids. So now, as we keep eating, what will happen? More of fat will keep storing in your body, while the carbohydrates are utilized for energy generation. So before you know it, if you keep, in fact, this is one of the even important of fasting. Examples of steroid hormones. Okay, please, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay. So, thank you. So, what I'm saying now, if we take too much carbohydrates, the carbohydrates will be utilizing for energy. So therefore, the lipid will be accumulated. And as a result of too much accumulation of lipids, there will be an increase in cholesterol level. So the level of cholesterol will go very high. And what are the importance of cholesterol in the body? It has advantage and it also has disadvantage. So the high level of cholesterol in the body is associated with the synthesis of steroid hormones. What are the steroid hormones? We have testosterone, we have progesterone, we have estrogen, we have so many of them. Okay, so now the importance of testosterone and estrogen are sex hormones. They are sex hormones. So does that means an increase in lipid productions in our bodies, or an increase in accumulation of lipid, which subsequently lead to an increase in the synthesis of the sex hormones? Is it actually associated with our sex behavior? Is it associated with sex behavior? Yes, cortisol is also part of it. Does it associate with our sex behavior? Yeah. So now, apart from the steroid hormones, the other bad part of cholesterol, the bad part of cholesterol is that generally cholesterol are synthesized in the liver. We synthesize cholesterol in the liver. This is where we synthesize cholesterol. But very unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen, after synthesizing this cholesterol in the liver, the bad part of it, there are what you call a bad transporter. That bad transporter, we have LDL and we have VLDL. What is LDL? The LDL is low density lipoproteins, and then the VLDL is called very low density lipoproteins. So they are called bad transporters because they took the cholesterol synthesized in the liver and deposit it on the wall of the artery, on the wall of the artery. So they will now deposit it on the wall of the artery. So the cholesterol will be deposited. Let's say this is the wall of the artery like this. So the cholesterol will be deposited here. So what will deposit this cholesterol? It is these two guys, the VLDL and LDL are the guys that will pick the cholesterol from the liver and then deposit them on the wall of the artery. And this too much accumulation of cholesterol on the wall of the artery lead to a medical condition or a disease condition. Let me see who can guess. Who can guess the disease that is associated with colossal accumulation of cholesterol to the wall of the artery due to the bad transport system of LDL and VLDL? Excellent, excellent. Blessing, Chinedu, and Victoria, you are all correct. So we call it atherosclerosis. And of course, as you can see from here, ladies and gentlemen, this is atherosclerosis. And by looking at the wall of the artery or the area here in the artery is low. And remember from your basic knowledge in physics, you know that pressure is equal to force all over area. So as you can see here, as a result of the deposition of cholesterol on the wall of the artery, the area decrease. So since the area decrease, what will happen? The pressure here and the area is inverse relationship. So therefore, if area decrease, the pressure will increase. So that is why, as a result of increase in pressure due to deposition of cholesterol on the wall of the artery, it leads to a further medical condition from atherosclerosis to what we call hypertension. Hypertension. In physics, when we say tension, it means pressure. So hypertension, it means high blood pressure. It means high blood pressure. So that is why, ladies and gentlemen, one of the major reasons in doing exercises, one of some of the very important things in doing exercises, because when you are doing exercises, the carbohydrates that you are taking, it will be utilized for energy, and then the stored lipid here. The stored lipid here will be mobilizing for the energy. So as a result of doing the physical exercise, you will be reducing the fat, and due to that reduce in fat, so there will be low cholesterol accumulation. So therefore, there will be no issue of hypertension. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, one very important thing from hypertension, the next thing is coronary heart disease, stroke, before you know it, paralysis, and then you die. So that is why when you are fat, you have to be doing physical exercise. And the importance of physical exercise, it has So many advantages. One, the lipids here will be mobilized for energy. It will be mobilized for energy. That is one. So therefore, there will be no colossal accumulation of cholesterol. Two. And then the next thing, we have HDL. HDL. What is HDL? The HDL is called high density lipoproteins. So therefore, this high density lipoproteins is a very important guy in our body. What it does, when these bad guys, LDL and VLDL, that is the bad guys, when they took the cholesterol from the liver, deposit it on the wall of the artery, it is this HDL that will pack them from the wall of the artery and take them back to the liver. So that is why they are called good cholesterol. That is why it is called good cholesterol. It is good cholesterol. So doing physical exercise, it also helps in increasing the level of HDL. And these are some of the reasons why physical activities is very, very important. Please, are you following, ladies and gentlemen? So I want you to understand that one of the importance of carbohydrate, it is very important in energy generation because the carbohydrate is a primary source of energy. And very importantly, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you one thing, that there are even some organelles or some cells in our body that only rely on carbohydrates. They only rely on carbohydrate for their energy generation. Please, who can tell me which cells in our body depend on carbohydrates for energy generation? Please, I need answer. I'm waiting. What are the cells in our body that solely depend on carbohydrates for energy generation? No. You said mitochondria, Idara Friday. Excellent, Yusuf. Brain cell, and then which other cell? If you said mitochondria, is the cells that doesn't have mitochondria in them, they are the one that depend specifically on carbohydrate. So all cells in our body that doesn't have mitochondria, so they depend on carbohydrate for their energy. And examples, we have brain cells. So which other cells, although brain cells, they have mitochondria, but they are not utilizing proteins and lipids for energy. Rather, they only depend on carbohydrate, but they have mitochondria. They have mitochondria. So brain cells is one of the cells that depend majorly on carbohydrates. I think, let me just say something very important. In our body, in a day, our body require or need 180 grams of glucose. Need 180 grams of glucose. So please, who can tell me, guess how many of these 180 grams that we consume or that our body needs? In average human being, we need 180 grams of glucose. So please guess how many of this glucose that is out of this 180, how many of it is utilized by the brain? How many of it is utilized by the brain? Kuma is not 100. Excellent, Blessing Chinedu. Excellent. 120 grams. So 120 grams of glucose is utilized by the brain. 120. So this is the amount of the glucose our brain utilizes. While the remaining 60 gram is utilized by all other parts of our body. So that is why if you are reading, you consume a lot of energy. You consume a lot of energy than someone that is there in the farm working, because there is muscles. So that is why now some of you that you involve yourself, or that you are doing the DLC program, because you always use your brain. So that is to tell you that if you realize and if you observe, you'll observe that you are taking too much food now compare with the time before you started this program. So because the brain utilizes about 120 grams. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, we have two major types of cells in our body that utilize that utilize glucose for energy. Number one, as we said, we have brain cells. We have brain cells, and then number two, we have red blood cells, erythrocyte, and I can see there is one of you that was able to mention the red blood cells. So we have brain cells and red blood cells. These are the cells in our body that doesn't utilize that utilize mainly glucose for energy. Okay, so thank you. So the next thing now that I'm going to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, you mentioned one of the importance of carbohydrate. So it serves as the major energy source of the body. And then we have carbohydrate, we have proteins and lipids as a major classes of food that generate energy in our body. And then the next one after this is, I also told you that lipids produce more energy than carbohydrates. And I'm going to explain that when we actually come to discuss the concept of lipids. I will describe and I will actually try to explain why the energy in lipid is much more better than the energy in carbohydrate, because carbohydrate 4 calories, lipids 9 calories. So I will explain that, and I think this is one of the questions that were asked during, I think, in one of the examinations. I think last year they asked why that the energy in lipid is more than that of the carbohydrates. But the answer is because lipid is highly reduced. So when it comes to that, I will explain more. So now you mentioned one of the importance of carbohydrates. So who can mention another importance of carbohydrate, please? Another importance of carbohydrates. Another importance of carbohydrate. I'm waiting. Another importance of carbohydrates. Brain cells and nerve cells are all the same. So you see, someone said use in cellular communications. Excellent. So carbohydrates, it is used in cellular communication. Excellent. So let's also shout on this: cellular communication. So another importance of carbohydrates also used in cellular communication. Communications. Excellent. So carbohydrate is important in cellular communication. So ladies and gentlemen, as a nurse communicate with another nurse, as human communicate with another human, as one organism communicate with another organism, that communication is also very important, and it helps by carbohydrate. Although It is not carbohydrate alone. We call it glycoproteins and glycolipids. So glycoproteins, that is actually the carbohydrates that help in cellular communication. What is glycoproteins? The word glyco means sugar, or the word glyco means carbohydrate. So carbohydrate and proteins together, we call it glycoconjugates. We call them glycoconjugates. We call them glycoconjugates. So from the word glycoconjugate, it means sugar with any other molecules. So you can have sugar and proteins. So when you have sugar and proteins, it means you have glycoproteins. When you have sugar and lipids, we call it glycolipid. So generally, ladies and gentlemen, cells do communicate. So one cells communicate with another cells through these glycoproteins that are found on the surface of the cell. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, last time I told you that, let's say you have a sperm cell and you have an egg cell. After sexual intercourse, man generally releases millions of sperm. So the question is how the egg cell reorganize the sperm cells for fertilization. How cells, how egg cells will be able to differentiate this is a liver cell, this is a brain cell, this is a kidney cell, this is not a sperm cell, is through these glycoproteins. So cells generally have receptors, and also other cells have a ligand, so that there is a way that they interact, and that interaction, it helps in what is this? What happens when someone keeps adding despite excessive activities? Yeah, actually the adding up, it's actually associated in so many things. Sometimes it's not actually about this metabolism. Yeah, sorry, it's not about the issue of too much accumulation of fat, but sometimes, despite the fact that you are doing the physical activities and you are eating too much, the fat will still accumulate. So what do you mean, or is it or former assisting in lipid metabolism? What do you mean with assisting in lipid metabolism? So that is what I want you to understand. So cells communicate through this glycoconjugate, and also another way how one cells will be able to recognize it is own cell, and how cells recognize it is all the cells that is not meant to be our own cells. So therefore, apart from cellular communication, also the glycoproteins are also very important in cellular recognition. So cellular recognition and communications are two different things. Communication, like for example, let's say this is a T cell. T cell. We know T cells is one of the examples of the cells that is very important in immune response. So let's say this is a T cell. So when a T cell, let's say it exposed or was able to identify or infected or was able to recognize, let's say, a viral infection, a viral in our body. So when these T cells recognize a particular cells, let me just give these examples of, yeah, we have what we call interferon. Interferon is an example of cytokines in our body. Interferon. So I want to tell you the mechanisms on how natural killer cells, how natural killer cells work and eliminate viral infection. So generally what happened, ladies and gentlemen, if there is a viral infection, generally the natural killer cells may be infected with the viral cells. So after that, the natural killer cells will now release interferon. Interferon. And what is the role of this interferon? Is to communicate. So you see, first, natural killer cells recognize a viral cell. So that's a cellular recognition. Then after recognition, then it might release a molecules that helps to communicate with other cells that there is a so types of virus. You should prepare yourself. You should prepare yourself so that at least you can take care of the pathogens. So there is cellular recognition and cellular communications. So I want to, okay, fat metabolism to avoid ketones formation. So this is actually some of the importance of carbohydrate. There are so many importance of carbohydrates. So as we are doing the classes, and I know that most of this you saw them from the previous videos or from the link of the previous video that I sent to you. So I hope you do enjoy those videos. So this is just for me to add more explanation on what we are doing. So the next thing after this, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to look at the classification of carbohydrates. What are the classification of carbohydrates? So we spent almost more than an hour. What are the classification of carbohydrates? What are the classification of carbohydrates? Excellent. So for the classification of carbohydrates, we have number one, so number one, we have monosaccharides. And the number two, we have oligosaccharides. We have oligosaccharides. And then number three, we have polysaccharides. So these are basically the classification of carbohydrates. So monosaccharides, they are called simple sugars. Monosaccharides, they are called simple sugars. And one thing with these monosaccharides, they are called simple sugars because they cannot further be hydrolyzed. They cannot further hydrolyze. And who can give me examples of monosaccharides? Who can give me examples of monosaccharides? Who can give me examples of monosaccharides? Excellent. So we have glucose. So glucose and fructose, all are examples of monosaccharides. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this. We are still doing the lectures or the tutorial for 5 courses. So for those of you that are yet to join the YouTube community, and if you're interested, you should try as much as possible to do so, because the semester is already going and we have covered a lot in anatomy. We have covered a lot in physiology. In the 2 physiology courses, we have covered a lot, and also in biostatistics, as well as so in these 4 courses, including the biochemistry, we have covered a lot. So if you are not a member, like as I can see, I think paying 1,500 is not much. It's not much. 4 courses. It's just a 2 gig data that you buy, maybe 2 days. It's just a 2 gig data. So sometimes you try as much as possible to be able to see what you are going to learn and what you are going to get. As I can see, so many of you, Aisha Ali, Obi, Oju, Odon, Ade, Joki, Idara Friday, they are all members. So I don't think just paying 1,500 is a problem. 1,500 or 4,000 is a problem. Try as much as possible, because the major aim of why I'm doing this is for you to be able to have access for you to be able to have access to all the videos so that at least at the end you will enjoy them. Okay, Sylvester says, please, I fit 750. How to I come? Yeah, just go there, click on that of the 700, 1,500, then you make the payment. So after making the payment, another 750 will be deducted from your account, and that will cover the 1,500. And if you do that, then it doesn't have problem. And I want you to understand, I think in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to start solving past question paper for all the courses that I'm doing tutorial. The anatomy, I will take past question paper and solve them. The physiology, the two physiology, that's physiology 1 and 2, I will also take past question paper and solve. And then for biostatistics, I will also take some past question paper and solve. And it is only members that will have access to that. But for biochemistry, that one is free. You don't need to make payment. But look at the other ones, and I think it is worth, especially the biostatistics calculations and also the two physiology courses. The importance of most of this video, as you are even doing something, you can sit down, you can watch them, and you will be able to get the concept. So please try to do that. So the simple sugars, example of simple sugars, we have glucose, we have fructose and galactose. Excellent. And they are called simples because they can never or they cannot further be hydrolyzed. And then the next one is oligosaccharide. Oligosaccharides, in some textbooks, they will tell you that even disaccharide is under oligosaccharide. So, but in some other sources, they will tell you that monosaccharide, disaccharide, oligosaccharide, and polysaccharide. So, but in this case, we can consider the oligosaccharide, the disaccharide to fall under disaccharide. So, the oligosaccharide contains 2 to 10 sugars. They contain 2 to 10 simple sugars. That is, they can contain 8 glucose, 8 mannose, 8 galactose or 8 fructose. So it means that if you have a carbohydrate that contains 2 to 10 sugars, so that carbohydrate is called oligosaccharides. And you see, if it is between 2 to 10, so it means that even disaccharide, it falls under this disaccharides. And we have examples of disaccharides. So examples of disaccharides, we have what and what? Examples of disaccharides, we have excellent sucrose, lactose, and maltose. They are all examples of disaccharides. And then the next thing is, after these oligosaccharides, and we can have also other examples of these oligosaccharides, like for example, we can have raffinose. We can have raffinose. Raffinose is an example of trisaccharide. This is trisaccharide. Trisaccharides. Raffinose is an example of trisaccharide. Excellent. Then apart from raffinose, we have maltotriose. We have maltotriose is also an example of trisaccharides. We can also have starchiose. We can have starchiose. So starchiose is an example. Okay, excellent. You see, Sylvester, you have now upgraded. I can see that you have upgraded. So for those of you that are yet to subscribe, try to subscribe so that you can have access to all other videos. So we have starchiose. So starchiose is an example of tetrasaccharides. Tetrasaccharides. So these are the examples of oligosaccharides. And then the next one is polysaccharides. So for the polysaccharides, we have different types of polysaccharides. We have, when you said polysaccharide, it means that are those sugars that contain many sugars. It has so many sugars in them, more than 10. So we have 2 types of them. we have oligosaccharide, we have homopolysaccharide and we have heteropolysaccharide. So ladies and gentlemen, actually I'm going to stop here, and I hope this of our class today, I hope you enjoy it. Please, do you understand? I am going to stop here, and I hope you enjoy the class. Unless if you have any question, but this is where we are going to stop today. Blessing Chinedu, you didn't join. You are not interested in other physiology, anatomy, and biostatistic videos? Okay. Okay, Aisha Tribio Ali, what you are going to do from the YouTube, you can see join. So click on that join. It will require you to input your ATM details. So put your ATM details and the money will be deducted. There is long numbers and expiry dates, and also there is CVC, or you can see security code. That is the 3 numbers that usually found at the back of your ATM. So, okay, Fib, what is your question? Ask your question. And Aisha, that is how you are going to do. So try to do it and register. And very soon, as I said, in the next 2 weeks, we are going to start solving. We already have WhatsApp group for those that have, or that those that are members, or for those that are interested to join our other lectures. So how can I access it on YouTube? What do you mean? What do you want to access? I don't understand the reducing part. Okay, so Sylvester, just DM me after this class. I will add you. I will send you the link to the tutorial group. We have a tutorial group where every day we tutor all the 5 courses. Okay, for anyone that is interested to join the other tutorial group, you can just send me a message, or maybe I will just send the link to the tutorial group to our biochemistry group so that you can join. But even if you join, if you didn't make payment, you might not have access to some of the videos. So that is why you need to make that payment. So to register, what you are going to do, you will see join. So click on the join, and then you input all your ATM details. Once you do that, it will automatically, the money will be automatically be deducted. Yes. You will see joined on my YouTube channel. You can go to the YouTube. After you subscribe, you will see join. So click on join, and then it will request you to input all your ATM details. So once you input all your ATM details, then the money will be deducted, and you will see welcome to the YouTube membership. So anytime you want to watch the video, you can watch them. So please, the assignment, is it individual or group assignment? No, it's not individual assignment. It's a forum. It's a forum. Forum is 5 marks. Individual assignment is 15 marks, and group assignment is 5 marks. And also quiz, 5 marks. And please, are we giving the summary of all your 5 videos, or just one of our, no, 5 videos? I send you a lot of videos on biochemistry. So just select the best 5 and summarize them. So, I think if that is all, so we are going to end it. But I'm telling you, if you can join, so try to join, because I wanted to, last time, I think a lot of students are very happy with what we did, and because at the end, so many of them got A, especially in biostatistics and biochemistry. And I know that By the way, I'm taking you biochemistry. I'm very sure if you are serious, there is no way that you are not going to get B. And even the biostatistic and the physiology courses as well as the anatomy. Okay, Rufai, what is your question? Rufai Favor. You said about the video, then ask the question. But I'm saying that the joining the YouTube membership or to register with the YouTube membership is not compulsory. So if you are not interested, you can just always join our biochemistry lecture. That one is free. You don't need to make any payment. But for the other 4 courses, you need to make payment. And as I said, in the next 2 weeks, we are going to, every day we will be taking past question paper and solve, because that is how I do, so that at least we'll have high chances of passing your courses. Now, Vivian Johanna, you are already a member, as I can see. You register with the YouTube. So you're already a member, unless if you are not in the WhatsApp group, then I will add you. Yes, Fasilat Muhammad. Yes, go and you will see joints on the YouTube. Once you click, you'll see joints. So click on it, and then yeah, we are coming to that because it's one of the classification of carbohydrates. We are coming to talk about reducing sugars and non-reducing sugar, but not now. We are coming to that. Rofa Ifevo. So that is what we are going to do. Just will see joint, click on the joints, and then in fact I can even send through where are we going to make the payment. Yes, Fasilat, click on, when you check the YouTube, you will see joint or subscribe. So click on it, then it will take you to a page where you are going to put your ATM details, your address, and everything. So once you add everything, then the money will be deducted. And then you become a member. As you can see, like this Efigema, Rufa Ifebo, Vivian Johanna, they are all members. So it's simple, but I'm telling you, try to do it. It's for your own benefit. I think 1,500, it shouldn't be a problem in joining, because 5 lectures to get exactly what is in your material. I think you need to make that famous. So thank you very much. I'm going to end it now and see you next. And if you have any problem with the payment, you can chat me on my DM. Thank you very much and see you next.